What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review, and I'm here to give my top 10 seasons of Survivor. There's been 39 seasons. I'm not going to count down all 39 of them, but I will give my top 10. Now, I want to say this. My worst season of Survivor ever is probably the most recent one, probably. Honestly, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. There's some other ones that are down there, Redemption Island. As much as I respect the gameplay of Robin that season, that one's definitely down there. Thailand, Marquesas, for whatever reason, they had a back-to-back seasons where it just didn't work for me as well. There's been some other ones. Obviously, One World wasn't as good. Nicaragua was really bad. So yeah, this definitely some seasons I haven't liked, but we're going to focus on positive right now and give you my top 10. So let's start with number 10. Number 10 was season 37, David versus Goliath. That was the season that Nick won. And I just like the concept. I just like the concept, the strong versus the weak, and it played out really entertaining all season long. The challenges were entertaining, the storyline was entertaining, the cast was entertaining. So I really like David versus Goliath a lot, and it is the most recent season, I believe. Yep, it is the most recent season that's in my top 10. Season 37. So David versus Goliath is my 10. My number 9 is Survivor Caramoan, Fans versus Favorites. That's season 26, the season that Cochrane won. And actually, there was a nice string. I'm going to get to that here in a second, but there was a nice string of seasons there where they were really strong in the mid-20s. And we all know that how strong of a player Cochrane was, how much Jeff likes Cochrane. He was an immensely entertaining player who was fun to watch, and he was somebody who was easy to root for, very witty, and just very entertaining. And he owned that season. I mean, he was the best player in that season of Survivor. And it was such a turnaround from the first time that he played, when he was this little, weak, unsure of himself player who jumped alliances, which ultimately spelled doom for him. In this season, he was sure of himself. He was confident. He was a challenge beast. He was somebody who was a great Survivor player. So Cochrane really owned that season, and I wish he would have said yes to come back for Winners at War, because he was so good in Fans vs. Favorites. So that's number 9. Number 8, Blood versus Water. That would be season 27. So just one season after Caramoan, you had Blood versus Water. And that was the one where they had the returning players, and then they had returning players' families and loved ones. And it got off with a bang with Rupert and his wife, and Rupert sacrificing himself so his wife can stay in the game. And that was what a dummy. What a dummy. I get you love your wife, bro. I get it. But come on, man. I think that this season will always be remembered for Tyson's gameplay. Tyson just played such a great, solid game. Monica played a great game. But I'll tell you, Tina from Australia, she was the first one voted out in AllStars. Tina came back to Blood versus Water and played a very strong game. But I think everybody will always remember this as the season that Tyson played a very great strategic game, very physical game, and definitely redeemed himself for the debacle that he caused for himself in Heroes vs. Villains. So number 8 for me is Blood versus Water. Number 7, the original, Survivor Borneo. And yeah, when you watch it now, it feels dated, it feels tame, it feels kind of slow. They focus more on the survival elements than the challenges or on the strategy. But it still changed television. Survivor Borneo changed television, and it set the template for what would evolve to what Survivor is today. This high stakes strategic game. And a lot of people say, I wish that Survivor would go back to just surviving. No, that would be boring today. It'd be boring today. That's why they aren't doing it. Survivor is going to continue to evolve. Borneo set the template, and it has continued to evolve. But Richard Hatch, what a great, I mean, he invented modern Survivor playing. And then other people have built on it, to be certain. You know, other people have built on it and changed how the game is played. You know, Russell Hantz changed how the game is played. You know, so Rob, you know, so there's been people who've changed the game, but Richard started it. Sue's speech obviously is iconic. There's Rudy. I mean, there's so many great stories and great moments in that first season, even though it is a little tame. There's a lot of great moments in that first season. So number 7 is Borneo. Number 6 is AllStars. It was so much fun. This is the first time that we got returning players. And it was a hoot to see these returning players back. And this was the season, obviously, that became the Rob and Amber show. And this was the season that really made Rob a Survivor celebrity. You know, he went out early in Marquesas. I was actually a little surprised that he was an all-star because he went out early in Marquesas. I guess it was just his personality that got him brought back for All-Stars. But it was the Rob and Amber show. And it even culminated in a proposal. It culminated in the wedding of the century. You know, it was a lot of fun seeing Rupert and Jenna team up and take it to the final 4 against Rob and Amber. And you know, Rupert at the time was probably the most popular player in Survivor, so him making it to the final 4 was a huge deal. Tom Buchanan, it was great seeing him make the top 5, and entertaining as always. So yeah, All-Stars was a great season that had a lot of great moments. The right person didn't win. It should have been Rob that won, but it was a very bitter jury, and I hate bitter juries. Sometimes bitter juries can actually ruin a season. It didn't in this case, though. Number 5 was Samoa. Speaking of bitter juries, Samoa was the Russell Hantz show. It was... My son's out there playing Xbox, being loud. I don't know if you can hear him or not. So, it was the Russell Hantz show. You know, this is a guy whose back was against the wall the entire game, who found ways to stay in the game. And he got robbed. Russell got robbed. Whether you like him or don't like him, that's irrelevant. He got robbed. And he should have won Samoa. He should not have won Heroes vs. Villains, but he should have won Samoa. I'll get to Heroes vs. Villains in a minute. But he should have won Samoa. He was the best player that season, and it still ranks high for me, though, because he was so entertaining all season long. Like I said, like him or hate him. And I look at him, I'm like, he's a villain. He was a villain, but sometimes villains make the best TV. Right? They're the more entertaining players. Sometimes the villains are incredibly entertaining. And maybe you don't want them to win, but you want them to be in the game for a long time because they're entertaining. And Russell was that, but I actually wanted Russell to win because I think he was the best player that season. So number 5 was Samoa. That was season 19. Number 4, season 28, Cagayan. Tony might be the most entertaining winner that we've ever had. He was so much fun to watch. He was so full of energy, and he was so likable. Just a likable guy. And Cagayan had so many fantastic players in it. There's probably 8 or 9 contestants in Cagayan that you just loved. So Cagayan was a lot of fun. Season 28. Now let's go back. My number 9 was season 26. My number 8 was season 27. Now my number 4 is season 28. So you had a really great run of Survivor seasons right there in the mid-20s where they were just fantastic. This was Survivor firing on all cylinders for about a year and a half. They were firing on all cylinders. And it culminated with that 28th season, Cagayan, with Tony, with his llama speak and his spy hut, being victorious. So, number 4, Cagayan. Number 3, season 7, Pearl Islands. Pearl Islands is when I fell in love with Survivor. Yeah, I started watching in Borneo, I watched Australia, I watched Africa, I watched Marquesas and Thailand and Amazon, and I was entertained by all of them, to be sure. But for some reason, Pearl Islands, I just fell in love with Survivor. I was like, this is great. This is the best show. You had Rupert, you had Sandra, you had Burton. Burton was such a fun player to watch. And you had Johnny Fairplay. Johnny Fairplay was the one I was rooting for all season long. He was. He was so entertaining, and he changed the game. With his lies, with his deceptive attitude, with the way that he went into the game saying, I don't care about making friends, I'm here to win. That was fantastic. And I loved Johnny Fairplay. And I actually wanted him to win. You know, he wasn't a villain that I was like, I want him to stay in the game and then not win. I wanted him to win. I liked him. I liked him because he was there to play and play hard. Forget how he did in Micronesia, when I don't think he came to play at all. But in Pearl Islands, he came to play and he came to play hard. And I loved him. I loved Rupert. I loved the cast. The Outcast twist wasn't so good. But it's still an iconic twist. Lil was probably the biggest goat ever taken to the final two, but hey, she represented the Boy Scouts of America, so that's all good. Number 3 is Pearl Islands. Number 2, season 16, Micronesia, fans versus favorites. What a good season this was, and full of big moments. Eric giving up immunity, the Black Widow Brigade. I mean, this was a season that was filled to the brim with these big, iconic Survivor moments. And the right person won this season too. Parvati was the best player in Micronesia. She just was. And the jury got it right. So I thought that was great. And Amanda Kimmel making it to the end twice and blowing it both times. Yeah, Micronesia was a great season. It's my number 2. And my number 1 was Survivor 20, Heroes versus Villains. This is probably the season that has the most big moments for me. You know, and probably this season has the most entertaining pre-merge series of episodes ever because of the Rob versus Russell feud. What an entertaining start to the season. Yeah, Rob went out before the merge. He went out right before the merge. But you had this rivalry that drove the first half of the season. And it kept the energy of the season up in such a way that you never got bored. It was firing on all cylinders the whole time. Coach and Jerry's relationship, Russell, Parvati, the way that Russell heartlessly betrayed some of his teammates. It was just such a good season. It was Survivor at its utmost best. Survivor's never been better than it was in 20. Now, a lot of people will say Russell should have won Heroes versus Villains. I disagree. Parvati should have won Heroes versus Villains. Remember, they were gunning for Parvati in the first episode. In the first episode, they were gunning for Parvati. And she stayed alive. She stayed alive all the way to the end. When people were gunning for her the whole time, she stayed alive. And that's the testament to what a good Survivor player that she is. So Russell should not have won. Parvati should have won. But Sandra won, so she gets to be the queen. Heroes vs. Villains, great season. Loved it so much. And it is my example of what Survivor is when it's perfect. Heroes vs. Villains. So, let's recap. Number 10, David vs. Goliath. Number 9, Caramoan, fans vs. favorites. Number 8, Blood vs. Water. Number 7, Borneo. Number 6, AllStars. Number 5, Samoa. Number 4, Cagayan. Number 3, Pearl Islands. Number 2, Micronesia. And number 1, Heroes vs. Villains. What are your favorite seasons of Survivor? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to see how your list compares to mine. And there's a lot of conversation to be had on which one is the best. Maybe you think Micronesia is the best. Maybe you're one of those classic people that thinks Borneo is the best. Let me know what you think. And thank you for being here at the LQ Review. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And as always, until next time, we'll see you later.